Alrighty, webheads, in honor of Across the Spiderverse blowing our minds this past weekend, I've been on a huge Spider-Man kick, and it's time to rank the 10 Spider-Man movies. That's nuts to say, there's 10 of these now, but this character will always be spectacular and amazing, and whatever pun I can think of. I'll always love all these movies, but I gotta rank them and pick my favorites here. Number 10 is Homecoming. Yeah, believe it or not, I'm not a big fan of this one. When I first saw it, I was really on board with this new direction because we'd waited to see Spidey interact with Avengers and Iron Man and all these characters because the Andrew Garfield movies came out in a time that nobody really wanted. We were wanting to get Spidey in the MCU, so he kind of got shafted there. But either way, these movies were fun. I mean, Tom Holland in this movie in particular is our first real introduction to the guy. He carries it great. But the best thing about this on rewatch every time is Michael Keaton, so iconic as an actor, and it was so cool to get him as Vulture. It's not the most accurate Vulture, but it's still fun. This movie just really suffers from the Iron Man Jr. stuff. That it started that, and that carried on into all of Tom's appearances. Number 9 for me is the first Amazing Spider-Man movie. Andrew Garfield was a good actor at the time, but he wasn't as well known or well loved. But looking back at this, it's a good watch. I mean, his Peter Parker's very weird, and it was jarring for me. The whole cool punk, edgy side to him. Did not like that when I first saw this. When I walked out of this movie, I just didn't feel any of that Spidey charm. But looking back, it was a fun time when it came out. This costume's so fucking cool looking, and the way light hits it and stuff. Really love that. Andrew looks the best and acts the most like Spider-Man, like the body language and the costume. Every appearance of him, I mean, he's never lacked there. And the Emma Stone and him, Gwen Stacy and Peter relationship is one of the best in any superhero movie between these two actors. Number 8 is Far From Home. I actually really like to rewatch this one. It's a fun summer movie, and it is not really set in New York, hence the title. But I didn't miss New York in this one. It was kind of cool. The first Homecoming just didn't have any of that Spidey funk to it with New York. This one is purposely avoiding New York, but it still felt like Spidey to me. The CGI in this is pretty good. It was a big improvement from Homecoming's weird CGI. And Mysterio, one of my favorite MCU villains, definitely. The costumes, even Tom's new costume in this movie was so sick. But seeing Mysterio on the big screen for me was a huge deal. I've always loved that character since I was a little kid, and to get one of my favorite actors to play him, it was a match made in heaven. And I'll always love to rewatch this movie for his appearance, even if he is connected to Tony Stark. I think it actually works in this scenario, but that is kind of a redundant thing in the MCU. 7 for me is The Amazing Spider-Man 2. It's very messy and convoluted, like Spider-Man 3, but I find it so fun, dude. This has the best Spidey costume. I love the big eyes. A lot of people agree with that. This costume's sick, and this is the best CGI in any Spidey film still. The CGI in this is so gorgeous to look at, and Andrew's acting in this is so good. I mean, this is really when he came into his own. He's really good as Peter in this one, and this came out when I was in high school, and he was graduating high school in it. So I just have fond memories to the era of this movie. And in Spider-Man 3, God, I was obsessed with this as a kid when it came out. I had all the toys, and I still love it, man. It was cool to hate this movie for a while, and I think it's starting to turn around where it's like we need to appreciate it again. I always tell people the ending when Harry and Peter team up, it was one of the first times we'd seen that in superhero movies, and it's done all the time now when two opposing sides come together. Even the Avengers, how they're all button heads. I mean, I get it. Harry was a villain. He was Goblin Jr. or whatever. But what do you know what I mean? The final battle in this was sick, dude. The two of them versus Venom and Sandman. The fights in these are the best Spidey fight scenes for me. I mean, the Doc Ock train scene is great, but I love every fight in this. And Topher Grace is very miscast as Eddie Brock, but the writing for the character is pretty great. I think it feels just like a Spidey cartoon or a comic. The symbiote stuff was just awesome in this. I mean, it gets a little hammed up with the dancing and all that, but I think it looks cool. I think the music, the theme to the symbiote, there's so much I love about this. It's probably the most rewatchable Spider-Man movie for me. Alright guys, top 5 time. Number 5 for me is Spider-Man. This movie, so iconic. It really opened my eyes as a little kid. Like a lot of us out there, it made this character so cool. I mean, he was already loved, but Toby really was this character for at least a decade to everybody in their mind. And then Green Goblin, Willem Dafoe, in this and No Way Home, he's one of the greatest villains in movie history. I don't care to say that. Loved him. Yeah, this movie is awesome. And I love the brutal fight at the end. I love seeing Spidey get his mask ripped up. I loved when superhero movies used to do that. I think it's starting to come back, but I love that battle damage shit. As Peter number 4 here, just kidding, I wish. Either way, this movie was so sick. It, like, brought us back to life after the pandemic or during the pandemic. It was so well needed. It, like, reminded us how fun the movies can be. And it was just a dream movie. I mean, this doesn't happen a lot in Hollywood. Like, stuff that fans really wanted, never thought it would actually happen. I remember seeing Endgame and I said the only way the MCU, Kevin Feige, will ever like top this is if he brings back Hugh Jackman or Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, and he's doing that now. And I don't know if it's out of desperation or what, but this movie's sick, man. I just think the second or the third act is like one of the best third acts ever for me because it's pure nostalgia and love, and it's just all these references. But the first half, Tom, like I said, he can carry movies good as Spider-Man, but I just don't like where they went with the whole Peter Parker reveal thing. It felt like at the end of Far From Home that was going to be really dark, and at the beginning of this, it's just kind of like a side thing. Like they're hiding out. That's all it was. I was expecting like more drama and heft out of that, and every time I rewatch this, it's kind of hard to get through the first like 20 minutes for me. Like I said, this list is subject to change, but number 3 right now is Across the Spider-Verse. This movie is bonkers. It's pretty perfect. I mean, I agree with a lot of people saying it was so good. It just leaves you feeling a little weird because it is that cliffhanger storytelling here, and it doesn't really have a 3-act structure. And if there's one in there, it's kind of hard to find. But dude, this movie is like one big like trip. Like it's just one. It feels like one big long day, and I love when movies feel like that. And Miles goes through the ringer here. Cannot wait to see where it goes next. I really cannot wait for March Beyond the Spider Verse. I hope that release date doesn't change. But yeah, this movie was. It's just something special for animation. Seeing a lot of these cameos in here and all that was crazy. There's not much I wanted more of. And then Miguel, Spider-Man 2099, was like so well done. I can't believe they took such an obscure character like that and made him so like iconic already. Like I feel like he's blowing up on TikTok, the sound effects and all that, but it's for a good reason. This character's sweet, and the music in this, it's one of the best scores and soundtracks to a Spider-Man movie or superhero movie in general. Number 2 is Spider-Man 2. This movie, I mean, people don't always give it its credit, but it's revolutionary and it still holds up. I think Raimi's directing here was like him at his best. He really perfected his craft here and pulled off one of the best superhero movies. The CGI was pretty game changing. The fight scenes and choreography in all his movies are awesome. I love the brutality with this Toby Spider-Man. The way he fights and grunts and you can hear it. It feels like a real guy fighting. It's just awesome. It always gets me going. Doc Ock, Alfred Molina is really well done here. I mean, it's that he's so good they had to bring him back. It's a great mentor at first and then villain. I love James Franco and I love the memes. I love all the Tobey Maguire movie memes. Number 1, I gotta go Into the Spider-Verse. I love this movie, guys. Rewatching it in anticipation for Across the Spider-Verse, it's just so fun, and it pioneered a new like landscape for animation. And I mean, I know you hear that a lot. I sound like a broken record, but it really is crazy that we got this new breaking edge like way of doing animation through a Spider-Man movie. And the way that it's like a comic book, a moving comic book, is what was like the charm and what stood out about it. But when you just say that and think about it, that's like what these movies like are. I mean, these are based off comic characters, and this is like the most respect you've ever felt to the comics in any of the superhero movies for me. And that's why it stands out. That's why so many people love it. It's just a love letter to the original origin, to like the creation of this format, of this storytelling of superheroes. And Miles is great, a great introduction, iconic moments here with him, What's Up Danger, all that stuff. Spider Ham, Noir, all the side characters are awesome. Penny Parker is kind of overlooked, but she's cool. Gwen's great, but God, Gwen was awesome in Across Spider-Verse. She steals the show for me there. And then Peter B. Parker, I mean, that's like one of my favorite versions of Peter Parker, guys. Like, I might like Peter B. Parker more than some of the live action Spider-Man. Either way, this movie is my favorite Spider-Man movie and one of my favorite superhero movies ever. So good. Let me know your guys' ranking in the comments and subscribe to the Jay Shrey Way.